Welcome to the very first episode of Cooking Break with Dani. I don't know why I just did Kung Fu hands, but I'm very excited. This has been a long time coming, and I didn't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. There's about 4,000 of you that have been waiting for a few weeks for me to post a video, and I just couldn't come up with a concept. I wanted to finish my blog slash website before I launched this channel. Guess what? Life doesn't always happen the way we want it to, so we just gotta go with it. And the way we're rolling with it is by sharing a shrimp ceviche recipe with you guys. Now, a little tiny bit of detour and background. Before I became a YouTuber or a social media marketing person, I was a culinary arts instructor in San Diego. It's a big part of my life. I love cooking. I think cooking is one of those things like scent that just really triggers memories, and it's a great way to bond with people. It's a great way to show someone you care. It's a really important life skill. So cooking is a huge part of my life, and I wanted to somehow incorporate it into my social media accounts. If you guys go to my original channel, Coffee Break with Dani, I have several cooking videos on there already. And if you're new to me and the way that we handle things here on YouTube, my videos tend to be pretty long. And they're long because you will learn not only how to make ceviche, but you will learn alternatives, and you will learn how to hold a knife and how to properly, cut a jalapeno, and how to use a cutting board, and how to follow knife rules so you don't hurt yourself, the importance of uniformity. So there's always a lesson tied into everything that we do. Another disclaimer that you guys need to be aware of is everyone cooks differently. I shared a rice recipe with you guys, and I was very forthcoming about how it was a very quick rice recipe, and a lot of the comments were about how it was inauthentic. When it comes to cooking, it's very important that you cook what you like, what your family likes, and that it's good to you or to whoever you're sharing it with. Authenticity, where it comes from, it's kind of getting caught up in details, So today we're going to do a shrimp ceviche, which is going to vary an insane amount from how you do it, or how your abuelita does it, or how your tia Berta does it. So it's going to vary, and that's okay. And there are going to be certain ingredients that I use that you don't like, and maybe mine isn't spicy enough and you like it really spicy. So along the way, we're going to learn the importance of using proper knives. We're going to learn the importance of each of these ingredients within this recipe, and we're going to make ceviche. The most exciting part is that there's no cooking involved in this video. Cooking Break with Dani, first video, no cooking. What? Well, we will be doing some sort of science cooking with acid, but there is going to be no fire involved, no pots and pans, just a couple knives, some bowls, a little squeezing, a little action. We're gonna be using these guns a lot, but I really want to make sure that you guys get to a point where you feel confident in the kitchen, where you feel like a rock star, where you feel so liberated to trying new ingredients, to swapping out ingredients, to making my recipes your own. So the shrimp ceviche that we will be doing today is a little different because we will be incorporating ingredients that are very fun, and probably not what you're used to for a recipe like this. We will be using cucumber, jicama, and mango. So it's gonna be super fun, but I will also show you guys how to do it the classic way or the traditional way, and then you guys can swap ingredients in or out, and quantities depending on how you guys like your food to taste. So on this channel, I don't presume you will be seeing my face often, but if you do, I will always make sure to list and link whatever I'm wearing, whatever makeup look I have, to my other YouTube channel where you guys can reference how I did this eyeshadow or where I got my shirt. So always check the description box below for additional information like the recipe, the tools that I'm showing you guys. If I say go look at this video that I saw for inspiration, or this is the cookbook that I use for inspiration, or whatever, the description box, you guys, is like the Cliff's Notes to this channel. So without further ado, that is so cliche, but so fitting for this channel, let's go ahead and get started. All right, you guys, so I used to teach a certification program for high school students, and these kids were single parents. Some of them had parole officers, others already had jobs. It was a very urban school district, and all of these kids had a story. And it was such a happy and educational time in my life where I learned who I was, where I felt useful, and it was just a very eye-opening experience for me. It definitely humbled me, and it gave me purpose. So I let these 15 to 18-year-olds run around my classroom with 14-inch chef's knives. So it was a little nerve-wracking at times, but I wanted to always make sure that they felt safe handling such sharp objects like a knife. Now, there are certain rules that you need to follow. There are certain things that you need to know about a knife. There are certain ways that you need to handle a knife, treat a knife, so that you are safe at all times, you and your loved ones. And so that when you're eating your shrimp ceviche, you don't run into the tip of your stiletto nail. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and get started with the prep for the ceviche, because I need to make sure this shrimp cures, and I'm running out of time. All right, you guys, so here we have 2 pounds of peeled and deveined shrimp. Can you peel and devein it yourself? Absolutely. Do I want to? No, thank you. When I was in culinary school, I stabbed myself with a shrimp skin or shell, and it caused me so much trauma that now I just buy it peeled. It hurts like a paper cut, except a little more aggressive. So I went to my local supermarket and I got the 31 to 40 count. Now, when you buy shrimp and you see the sign at the store that has a weird number like this means about how many shrimp you're going to get per pound. So I should have between 31 to 40 shrimp per pound. Is that important? I guess it's only important depending on what you're making. Like if you're doing a shrimp cocktail, you want a specific size. Otherwise, for the purpose of today, it's not that big of a deal. So we have our shrimp right here. And when it comes down to shrimp at the grocery store, they keep it in ice. And they keep it next to other stuff that you don't know where it's been. And we're going to cure this with acid. We're not actually cooking it. Could you cook it on the stovetop and then just fake the funk later? Yes. Will it taste different? 100%. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a really good rinse, get rid of all the ice chips, get rid of all the other stuff that it was touching at the store, and then we'll come back and cut it. Since we are going to be curing this shrimp in lime juice, it's really important that we don't have too much excess liquid of other stuff with this shrimp. So I went ahead and laid down a few paper towels just to kind of soak up whatever liquid is left over. We're gonna give them just a really brief pat down, nothing too excessive. It's not that big of a deal. Now, when going to select a knife, you wanna pick your knife based on the task. Not because it's your favorite knife or because it's the knife your mom gave you. You always wanna make sure you use the right knife for the right task. If I were just gonna chop this, I would reach for a traditional chef's knife like a santoku or like an 8 to 12 inch, just classic chef's knife. But because I do want to slice the ceviche down the back so that it cures a lot faster, I'm gonna reach for a smaller knife. That ensures that I remain in control of what's happening and what I'm doing. Make sure that in anything that you do in your kitchen, you are safe. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but your safety is paramount to the success of whatever you're making. So you're going to take your shrimp, your 31 to 40 shrimp, lay it on its side, give it a gentle little hug with your fingers curved up, and you're going to slice it across the middle of the back. What you're doing is called butterflying. So you could actually grill them like this and they give you a really pretty shape. So much for deveining the shrimp, huh? You guys see that? So I'm gonna show you guys again. Hold it on its side like you're giving it a gentle little hug with your fingers curved up like this. And then you're going to rock your knife with really confident movements. You don't wanna do this with knives. Have you ever seen people cut food like this? If you have to aggressively do this, your knife isn't sharp enough. So once you have sliced your shrimp in half or you've butterflied it, then you're going to cut it in uniform size little chunks. So we got that one, we got that one. Do you guys see my placement on the knife? I'm not doing this. Never, ever cut like this. This is extremely dangerous, and yet it's the way that most people handle a knife. If I do this, because my hands are wet, I could cut my finger. And it's not a pleasant experience, especially if you actually have nice knives. So always grab your knife with confidence, know where your fingers are at all times, and use uniform knife skills so that everything that you are making cooks uniformly. So I'm gonna get through all this shrimp because I feel quite confident in my original Sentoku or chef's knife. That's the knife that I'm gonna use. But if you were just familiarizing yourself with handling a knife, I would say go for a small paring knife like this one so that you're in full control of the size of the blade and the angle, and you know exactly where you're headed to with the knife. All right, you guys, so place all of your shrimp in a glass bowl, and it's really important that when you are curing anything with an acid or a vinegar that you use glass, not plastic, not metal. Always use glass. It's not gonna absorb any of it. It's not gonna react with metal. You're gonna get basically the results that you are wanting to achieve without the risk of making anybody sick or ruining a plastic container. So I have all the shrimp in this bowl, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to cut the limes. There is actually no rocket science behind the limes or what we're gonna do. I just like to give them a nice roll to really loosen up the juices within the rind. We're gonna cut them in half, and then we're gonna push them through a Mexican juicer and try and generously coat the shrimp with lime. I bought 7 limes because they were on sale, but I don't assume we will be using all of them. Another thing you want to remember is that the recipe for whatever we're doing will either be on the blog or in the description box of this video. So if I don't mention an ingredient amount, just check below and you will be able to find. Did you see how the juice came out of the lime? That's essentially what you want. And when you're juicing citrus, you want to cut it in between the ends. So you want either end on either side, and you want to cut it through the middle. You don't want to cut it this way or you're not going to get all the juice out. Always cut it this way. So we're going to cut the limes, and then I'll show you guys my $4 juicer from Mexico. And we're going to squeeze that delicious juice over our shrimp. All right, so this is my amazing juicer. It probably has lead in it, no big deal. They sell better ones at Bed Bath & Beyond, fancier ones on Amazon.com, but I've had this one for years and years and years, and it's never let me down. Plus I figure I'm using it with citrus, so if there's anything questionable on there, it's getting taken care of. And Wesley says hello. Okay, so run all your limes through your juicer. Do you see how much juice is in there? I'm not even gonna need 4 of these limes, I think. Always save your citrus rinds to run through your garbage disposal if you have one, and it really cleans it out real well, especially when it starts to smell a little questionable. I need to stop saying questionable on a cooking channel. You can see how the shrimp change color instantly. We are going to let these puppies hang out in the fridge. We want to make sure that they are coated as much as possible with this lime juice without overdoing the citrus. In order to speed up the process, I'm also going to salt my shrimp. That assists in the curing process and it makes it a lot faster. And I'm just using that big granulated sea salt, which can be a little deceiving. It can start off very, very, what's the word? Subtle, and then it gets super salty as it dissolves in whatever you're making. Do you see how the shrimp's already changing color? And shrimp has like a natural timer. It's like an organic timer built into it that once it changes color, you know the puppy's cooked. So I would let this marinate or cure in for as little as an hour but ideally you want it to hang out in the lime juice for 4 to 5 hours. So I'm gonna throw a cover on this, I'm gonna put it in the fridge, and then we'll continue to cut the rest of the items. There are a couple of items that we're gonna use for the ceviche that require peeling, so I'm gonna show you guys how I peel. Just kidding, I think you guys are pretty confident in using a vegetable peeler. Mine is from the brand Calphalon. I've had it for several years. I got mine at Bed Bath & Beyond, and we are going to be peeling an English cucumber, a jicama, and a mango. So all 3 of these items, you guys can watch how I peel it. You probably don't care, but always cut and peel away from yourself. Never towards you, because you could hurt yourself really badly. So always, always peel away from yourself, and if you need to go slow, go ahead and take your time. You helping mommy? Okay, you guys, we are going to start with the traditional ceviche ingredients before we get into the jicama, the mango, and all the stuff that we peeled. Traditionally, ceviche has the pico ingredients. It has a tomato, an onion, a type of chili, whether it's serrano or jalapeño, and cilantro. Whether you add a citrus or not is optional, but traditionally ceviche is pico plus your protein, whether it's fish or shrimp, and your citrus. So that's as basic as I can break it down for you guys. So if you like those ingredients, that's how you make ceviche. We're gonna go in with a red onion, and I don't anticipate using the whole thing. So if you guys have been following me on Coffee Break with Dani, we've talked about how to cut an onion. I always cut the top of it off first. I keep the root of it on, and I cut it in half. That facilitates me cutting the rest of it. Now I'm gonna cut the root off and peel it. And we are actually only going to use half of this red onion. I don't want the onion to overpower the ceviche. In fact, I want it to be more of a sweet and mild tasting ceviche, because the shrimp is the star of the show, right? So once you have your onion peeled, the root is removed, so it's all gonna fall apart very nicely. We're going to do a fine dice. That is the smallest dice possible, or tiny little squares. The best way to do that is to go in on an angle and go around like a rainbow, right? So you're gonna go in sideways as far as you can go, and usually you do this with the onion sideways, but I want you guys to be able to see the front of the onion. So ideally you would be doing it like this, okay? So you're gonna go in, and you're making like itty bitty tiny, tiny little wedges. Turn it, and as small as you can possibly cut. It's almost going to look like a mince, but we're calling it a dice because we want them to be perfectly uniform. So when you look at the size of your dice, it's all pretty consistent and uniform, which means it will all taste the same. It will all cure at the same time. And it really depends on the ingredients. For example, if you want your ceviche to be really crunchy, you can cut big pieces of jicama and big pieces of cucumber. If you want your ceviche to be all nice and soft, like a salsa, then you cut everything really, really, really small, and you let it cure for a lot longer. Now we're gonna go in with the pepper or the jalapeno. I like to cut the jalapeno like I cut a bell pepper. And that's kind of by cutting off little lobes or wedges off the side so that I don't touch the seeds. If you have a couple rogue seeds, no big deal. Just put them off to the side. And for these especially, we're gonna cut these really small, but the same concept as we did with the onion. I can smell this pepper now, and I can tell you that it is very spicy, so we're not gonna use the second one that we purchased. We're just gonna keep it at this one pepper. I am cutting the jalapeno with the shiny side of the skin down so that my knife is able to penetrate the skin without getting stuck. So when you're cutting a pepper, always cut with the shiny side of the skin side down. So the inside of the pepper facing you, facing up. Moving on to the tomato. You can use any type of tomato you like. Traditionally you use Roma. I like to use tomatoes on the vine because they're very juicy, and I actually like the tomato juice inside the ceviche. But my hack or my cheater way of cutting a tomato is using a bread knife or a serrated knife, a knife that has teeth. It kind of holds onto the skin of the tomato, and you don't have that rocking back and forth or the smushing down of a tomato. You're not crushing it, essentially. So use your serrated knife to cut through the skin. And as excessive as this may seem, I actually like to use 2 different knives when I'm trying to dice tomatoes. And that just makes me feel safe, and it's something that I've always been a fan of doing. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. But I feel like I'm always in such a hurry doing things that I come up with these little shortcut ways of doing them fast without hurting myself. So I'll use a serrated knife to create the slices, and then I'll go in with a regular chef's knife to get the dice. All right, you guys, the last traditional item when you're making pico or a traditional ceviche, traditional, air quotes necessary, is cilantro. And I don't like to use too much of it because cilantro is kind of hit or miss. I could eat cilantro by the fistful. I'm completely in love with it. I think it's a great herb. It has a very unique flavor to it, and it really makes me happy. But a lot of people don't like it. So I tend to use the amount based on where I'm going, who's gonna be there, and just kind of wing it. Think about it like a garnish for your ceviche if you don't know whether or not people are gonna like it. So with herbs, you wanna make as minimal cuts as possible, because if you cut them more than you need to, you will bruise them and they will turn black. So run your knife through it as quickly as possible with as little cuts as possible. And if you see really big stems, just get them out of the way. I actually like the stems. A lot of people don't like them. So pull them out, because we are cooking for a crowd, not just for ourselves, right? So then we're going to take that and we're gonna drop it into our pico mix. And then we're gonna add all the fun stuff. But for now, we have jalapeno, we have onion, we have tomato, and we have a little bit of cilantro. So this would be your traditional classic pico. This is what we mix into your shrimp and your citrus, and you have a ceviche. But aside from that, we are going to add fun ingredients like jicama, mango, and cucumber. The easiest ingredient to cut and to show you guys will be this cucumber. And I think we're gonna use just about half of it. We don't wanna use the whole thing. We don't want it to take over the recipe. And I'm using a classic chef's knife for this task. And I wanna see what the inside looks like. Should I take out the seeds? Should I not? A lot of people don't like seeds, and we're already dealing with the seeds inside the tomato. So let's keep seeds to a minimum. I'm using a teaspoon. I'm gripping on to the half of the cucumber, and I'm gently scraping and removing that little seed pod that it has. And here is the second one. For this ceviche, we want this to be a small dice. So we're going to rock this half moon a little bit over, hold on to the food, and we're gonna do about, I would say, 1/3 of an inch, maybe 1/2 of an inch strips. Same thing with this one. And then we'll line them up together, fold down our knuckles so we don't cut our fingers, and do an even dice. We're gonna use the same amount of cucumber, mango, and jicama just because they are the special ingredients in this recipe. They're a little unique. A lot of people might not be familiar with them. So I just cut a chunk off the jicama. What is a jicama? Jicama is a root. Think of it like a potato, but a sweet potato. Not a sweet potato like a yam, a sweet potato. Like a white one, but it's sweet and it's crunchy and it's a little dry. I don't know if you guys can see. This is one of those root vegetables that if you actually pat it with a paper towel or you rub it on black paper, you'll be able to see how much starch is in it. If you are a fan of tangy foods, you know, fruits and foods that you can put tahini on, you will be a fan of this root. It is so good. It is delicious. It is a very refreshing summer snack with a squeeze of lime and a little dusting of like chili powder or tahini, or what's the other really common one that has the little rooster on it? I think it's called Pico De Gallo, but it's like a powder form. So we're gonna put these with the rest of our lovely nuggets. This is gonna be so yummy. It's actually gonna feel like a meal instead of an appetizer, which is the whole point of doing this. Now for a mango, so I hold it really firmly with my palm and I cut right up against the bone or the pit, and then I take the edge off as well. Did you see how I had to angle my knife? Because I felt the pit. So take your knife, cut, and then angle it. You'll run it across the pit of the mango. And the same thing, you're basically just doing little slices, little batons or sticks, and then putting those with the rest of your friends over here. So we'll flip it over. Never cut a food that's rocky unless you can find a flat side or you're comfortable handling a knife. You guys see how I'm going in with the tip of the knife first? And then I'm moving the food to work with me. I'm not moving me to work with the food. I'm moving the food to work with me. That's how I remain in control and I don't hurt myself. So let me show you guys one more time. Lay it on its flat side. Tip first. Do you see how I'm gripping the blade of the knife? I'm holding it by the heel. I'm folding my fingers underneath so I don't cut my fingertips. And I'm moving the food to work with me. Alright you guys, this whole time I thought I was filming, you missed my full-on pontification of this cooked shrimp. So let's rewind a little bit. I caught myself just in time. If you guys were in my shoes right now and you were stirring this shrimp, you would see or be able to feel the firmness of the protein. So we've been able to successfully cook the protein or the shrimp in lime juice. It's firm, it's fully coagulated, so it will feel, look, and taste like cooked shrimp with a little bit of citrus. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to combine all of the ingredients that we chopped into the shrimp, and I want you guys to observe the different sizes. Like, why are these ingredients all cut a different size? Think about what a good reason for that might be. So we cut jicama, we cut mango, we cut cucumber, there's some cilantro in there, onion, and tomato. So why the size difference? Okay, so here are your answers. The first thing is, let's go ahead and not forget the salt. That would be a complete shame. If I were doing this for my home, I would have added a Serrano or an additional jalapeno to make it spicy, but I'm not, and I don't know if the people there will like spicy food, so we're just gonna keep it as is. So why the different sizes in the ingredients? If you guys look at the size of the shrimp, it is similar to the size of the mango, the cucumber, and the jicama. And that is intentional because that is the hardiness or the hearty part of this dish. That's what's gonna give you guys the girth. Everything else is the seasoning and the flavoring. So the onion, the tomato, the cilantro, the jalapeno, all of those are the base layer flavors, but they're an accent. They are not the heart of the dish. They're not the chunk of the dish. So if you were to say what the ceviche is, this is a shrimp, cucumber, and mango ceviche. So you want the stars of the show to be similar in size. So now we're going to do a taste test. Oh my God. I know I just put the spoon back in, but that's okay, it's family. Family shares spoons, you guys. Don't tell them, by the way. Oh my God, this is so good. Okay, before we wrap this up and I show you guys how to plate it, you have to add one last final ingredient. And I like to save it for the end once everything is fully combined because I don't want it to get smashed. I want it to stay in a delicious little cube and look nice and pretty. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this monster avocado. Wesley's gonna help me, he's right here. I have a taste tester in the wings that's trying to crash our party. He's also gonna share the spoon. I'm gonna need an auditory reaction. Can you do that? Are you nervous?
No, not at all. This is gonna end wonderfully. Wow. Boy, the onion.
Uh-huh.
It's crunchy.
It tastes like summer, right?
It is. It's very refreshing. It's good. This is on a tortilla chip? Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
That's very good.
Yay. Okay, now we're gonna cut an avocado and we're gonna do it in a way that's safe and Wesley doesn't injure himself. So an avocado, it's a little tricky, but there's a way to do it. And my favorite way to do it is with a small paring knife so that I could hold the avocado instead of keep the avocado down. Now, if you are a little nervous, you can lay the avocado down and stab it sideways and then turn the avocado. That actually makes me more nervous than if I hold it myself. If I hold it myself, I feel like I'm in control. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it with the little belly button facing me. I will insert the knife at the top and go until I hit the pit. Did you guys hear that? And then rotate the avocado and move your hand away from it as you're moving the knife. Twist it. And then you have a beautiful, perfect avocado. I have a joke, a running joke with one of my friends. Her name's Alyssa. And it's just funny because I always pick the perfect avocado. I know it sounds like I'm bragging. It totally is me bragging. But if you need someone to pick an avocado for you, I'm your girl. This is what my avocados always look like. I can't tell you the size of the pit in advance, but I can pick a good one. So what I did is I jammed the knife in there and I stabbed it out. And then you just give it a little bang and it comes off the knife. I would not recommend anyone doing that if you're scared of a knife because you could really hurt yourself. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cross hatch it the same size and width of the other food items that are in here that match the shrimp. So you can see the cuts that I made, and now I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. Do you want some ceviche, babe? I can give you some on a plate.
I was looking for some tortilla chips that are open.
Just open the ones we're gonna take. Or the tostadas that are in there.
Ooh, tostadas.
Because I have to open them for the demo anyway.
Tostadas!
So you can see we cross-hatched the avocados. You can see the little beautiful squares that are in there. So we're gonna scoop out this beautiful monster of an avocado. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? I love when things just work out. This is my favorite part. Like I scrape it out and I eat it with the spoon. Don't tell my friends. Okay, and then same thing with this side. See the beautiful, look at Mern. Look at this beautiful avocado. Isn't that just, it looks like summer, you guys, right? Doesn't this look like summer? Okay, and then very gently, very lightly, give this a toss. It has to be a very loving toss. If your hands are impeccably clean, I would say use your hands, but it has to be a gentle folding of ingredient. You're just folding the avocado in there, but you wanna make sure that the avocado touches lime juice so that it doesn't turn dark. All right, you guys, so now let me show you guys how we plate it. Traditionally, air quotes, traditionally the tostada has a mayo smear on it. Now the purpose of the mayo is for glue, right? And it is the lightest, thinnest, most effortless, like It's literally this much. It's not any at all where you can actually even taste it. And so the purpose of the mayo is glue. When I do ceviche, I avoid it altogether because the only glue I need are these in my mouth. And if something falls off the plate, I don't care. I use my fingers, I use a spoon, I use a fork. When you serve it, you want to make sure you drain the excess liquid so that your tostada doesn't get, what's the word? Doesn't collapse. It doesn't get soggy, especially if you like to take your time when you're eating. And so you just put a generous scoop of your beautiful jewels. Look at this. How beautiful does that look? So you just put a generous scoop on it, and when people eat it, they could either bring it up to their mouth or they can crack it and eat it like pieces of tostada. If you want it to be extra, you guys, like you want to be extra, you can put a little cilantro leaf on top. If you were going to present the big bowl, like you were gonna take it to a party like I am today, I would transfer this to a really pretty serving dish, and then you slice a piece of lime and then you cut it in half without going through, and you do a twist and you kind of wedge it on top. Ta-da! You could also sprinkle some fresh cilantro on top and you bring it to your party, you make it look good. But otherwise, this is actually the final product, and it wouldn't be Cooking Break with Dani unless we did a taste test. Now, I do have a very handsome man in the kitchen that already cheated. So this is gonna be my on-camera bite. It's gonna totally fall apart, but oh my goodness. This is one of those dishes that is going to remind you of things, that is going to take you to a place. It's going to make you want to do things. To me, it takes me to Puerto Nuevo. It takes me to Baja. It takes me to when I grew up in San Diego. All of my aunts have their special ceviche recipe. My Aunt Vico uses a really cheap white fish and she cuts it really, really fine. So it's almost like a shredded chicken type texture. It's amazing. It reminds me of summer. It makes me want to have a really cold Mexican beer with a lime. So it's one of those dishes that's going to remind you and take you somewhere. It's also one of those dishes that, oh my god. If this makes you feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but it explodes in your mouth. Full of flavor, full of juice, full of different textures. It's definitely an experience. Eating should be an experience. So if you can do something that is actually quite healthy for you, make it delicious, and give someone memories, why not? All right, you guys, that is it for our very first Cooking Break with Dani. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what your variations on ceviche are. What protein do you use? What ingredients do you add that are different? If you've never tried jicama, if you don't like mango and savory dishes, this is a really great opportunity for you guys to explore new ingredients, explore a new recipe, and really get turned on to a cultural dish that can be customized to your family's likes or preferences. So I will make sure that I list the ingredients that we use, the amounts, in the description box below of this video. If you guys have any questions, make sure to chat with me in the comment section below. And I really want to make sure that you guys learned something out of this video. What did you learn? Were you using your knives incorrectly? Are you feeling a lot more confident now that you stepped into the kitchen? Are we cooking together? The whole point of this channel is for us to cook together. So have we had a meal? Yes or no? Let us know in the comment section below. If you want to see other videos that I've done with my personal recipes, I will leave a playlist in the description box below. I used to post these cooking videos on my original beauty and lifestyle channel, but now we're gonna mainstream it to here. So if you guys want to be cooking friends, and you want to share recipes and you want to enjoy a meal together, all you have to do is make sure that you hit that subscribe button, become a part of the Cooking Break with Dani community, and let's eat.